Welcome, Unity of Charlotte, and we welcome all of you, and especially the lovely people here in the sanctuary, bringing excitement and blessings to all of us, and those of you joining us on YouTube. And so, welcome, because Unity of Charlotte is where we nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. And simply put, what this means is we are here to love, grow, and serve. And it is important to serve because the one thing that we do know from our teaching is that giving and receiving are the same thing. So I'm delighted to see all your beautiful faces here today. I'm Reverend Pat Dre, and it is a pleasure for me. I had to race a little bit this morning. I'm not exactly sure why. Doesn't that happen sometimes? The clock seems to do this faster than I do, but I always have my intention that I'm here on time and a little bit early. Well, I wasn't early today, but I was here on time. And so let's start today by sharing our statement of oneness, a very important affirmation, and that will be followed by our prayer. So join with me in this statement of oneness. There is one presence and one power in my life and universe, God, the good, omnipotent. Take a deep breath in and hold it for just a moment and let it go. And one more time. And sit comfortably in place as I share with you a precious, precious message from our daily word today. Let go and let God. I bless myself when I let go and let God. If I find myself ruminating over a concern or a weighty decision, I release its grip on my attention by letting go and letting God. When I let go, I am placing my trust in divine mind, the source of infinite potential. I believe there are solutions and remedies of which my limited human mind simply cannot conceive. When I let God, I am trusting the grace of God will bless my life in the most wondrous and even surprising ways. Letting go and letting God is how I live my faith. I surrender to the spiritual truth, the presence and power of God, and believe the best outcome is going to be so much better than anything I can imagine. And so I affirm, I let go and let God and relax into knowing I am deeply loved and abundantly blessed. And would you join with me in saying the affirmation that I let go and let God together? I let go and let God. Thank you. We are glad to share with you some of the announcements that we have of the events that take place. The book club will meet again on August 21st at 11 a.m. following service by Zoom. The Affirmation Prayer and Meditation group meets on Tuesdays on the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month by Zoom at 7:15 in the evening. It is a lovely opportunity to meditate related to the world and the ecology and our own unity of Charlotte and beyond. The men's group meets on Wednesdays, on the second and fourth Wednesdays, here at the church at 9:30 in the morning. And we have the Unity of Charlotte Course in Miracles on Thursday morning. That must be awfully special because I dragged it out quite a bit. The Course in Miracles is life-changing. And if you've been looking for an opportunity to renew or to do it for the first time, it is truly life-changing. So I am grateful to all of you joining us on Zoom this morning, and I'm welcoming up Lawrence Tolliver to make a special announcement. You know, all of his announcements are special. So here you are, Lawrence.
Thank you, Reverend Pat, and good morning, everyone. Good to see all of you, and we certainly are glad to see some visitors with us this morning. And we just know there's great reasons to be happy. Reverend Adrian's here, so you know that puts a smile on my face. All right. Well, as you know, last weekend we entertained two candidates who are interested in being our co-ministers. And I just want to compliment all of the membership of Unity of Charlotte for such a wonderful turnout for the service that was rendered on Sunday morning, and a great turnout in the afternoon for the workshop. And not only coming to the workshop, but bringing plenty of food. So we had an old time Unity pot lunch and everyone just loved it. So thank you to everyone that made that successful. And I want to tell you how successful these co-ministers, if we bring them on, how successful they were. There were 29 people in the congregation last Sunday, and 21 of them drove somewhere else for the workshop. 21 out of 29. Reverend Adrian, ain't that great? So that was just outstanding. And let me tell you that our Board of Trustees held a Zoom meeting on Friday morning, this 2 days ago. And the purpose of the meeting was to decide whether or not to engage these two guests in negotiations for them to be our co-ministers. And with no negative votes or comments whatsoever, we unanimously chose to invite Reverend Jim and Reverend Lisa to become our co-ministers. Isn't that outstanding? Yeah. So it has been a while since we had permanent ministers standing in the pulpit. We've had lovely services. We've had guest ministers. We've just had great experience brought to our pulpit, but we have a need for ministers who are ours. So we're looking forward to negotiating with Reverend Lisa and Reverend Jim. And I'm happy to say that Reverend Pat, myself, and Shandon Singh are going to be your negotiating team. And we're just going to figure out how much of our money they can take as their own. So, well, we do have to pay people, don't we? So we're looking forward to the dialogue and looking forward to culminating that dialogue with them coming to us before the end of the year. We're hopeful that we can make that happen. So, Reverend Pat, that is it. And I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. And I do want to add to that your board of directors has been very busy over the almost 3 years that we have not had a minister in place, and that we have managed that money so well and done what is our service to this Unity of Charlotte. So we are in very good standing now to employ ministers. So with that, I want to thank again everybody for joining us here today, and those of you on Zoom and YouTube. And I know that pretty soon we're getting going with our children's program. And here's the good news, some children showed up this morning. So we are happy to announce the official opening of our children's program today. And if anyone you know is in need of prayer, please place a prayer request at our site. And at that site also, you can donate to Unity of Charlotte the very easy way. So for all that, I am grateful. And now I want to mention that we have a few new people in our audience, and raise your hands if you're new. Yes. And Charlie and Charles and Jan are new, and so let's give them a round of applause and welcome them. Glad to have you. Thank you. It is my pleasure now to bring back somebody who is beloved to us, and that is Reverend Adrian Calabrese. And you know, it is the end of July. We are now moving into August, and Reverend Adrian has been on a sabbatical. And what happens when you're on sabbatical? You deal with life, because that's what a sabbatical is. You deal with life, and she deals with life so beautifully and so gracefully. Give her a very warm welcome back. Delighted to have you.
Oops, okay. I'm delighted to be back. And I just want to say thank you to all of you who have been so supportive of me and have in this sabbatical time, which I will talk about in a little bit, you have reached out to me. You have done such beautiful things that just will make me cry if I talk too much about them. But I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for being so supportive. And I received flowers, I received candy, I received cards, I received emails from you with your support. And you can't know how much that has meant, especially in my healing. So to be able to come back to the pulpit for the first time in a long time, I'm happy that it's here at Unity, where I feel like I'm a part of you and you're a part of me. And I'm delighted to be back today. And in so doing, I had to remind myself that I'm going to do this without shoes on. What's better than that? You get to talk, you get to be with people you love, and you don't have to wear shoes. Man, I've worn my share of stilettos, I'll tell you. It's nice to not have to deal with that anymore. Oh. But today's lecture is something that is near and dear to my heart. And usually when I speak, it's because I need to learn something. You know, what's the point of speaking if I can't learn anything? And I have decided that this one is called Starting Over, Creating a New Life in God's Grace. And as Pat said, you know, life has some challenges. And some of the challenges we welcome because they're positive challenges. And some of the challenges we're not so thrilled about. They're not always wanted. They're sometimes overwhelming, but they are always integral to our spiritual growth and enlightenment. That's the key. They are always integral to that growth, even if we can't see at that moment how important they are. They don't feel so good sometimes, but they are so important. And I like to call them spiritual turning points. Spiritual turning points in our lives. We've all had them. We've had them probably more than once. I've had my share. Some of them are a lot heavier to deal with than others, but nonetheless, they are going to keep coming as long as we're breathing and we're walking and talking. And I remember seeing a television show years ago, and I forgot the name of it. You know, that's how old I am. I can't remember sometimes what I had for lunch. But I remembered this. I remembered that the that the show was it was a comedy, it was a sitcom many years ago, and it was about a lawyer who was a public defender, and in his office he had a sign from an amusement park on his wall, and he said that it represented his view of life, and the sign from an amusement park said, "This is a dark ride." Man, that stuck with me. Can't remember the actor, can't remember the name of the show, can't remember anything, but that I remember, right? That's something you don't forget. This is a dark ride, and it hit me like, wow, is that your philosophy of life? But sometimes it is a dark ride, and it can be for us a dark ride. And I thought, you know, how does one deal with the dark ride? And there are challenges that I call spiritual turning points, but they are opportunities. Very hard to see that. I'm not really trying to be a Pollyanna when I talk about it, but if you're talking about growing, loving, growing, serving, we have to see these moments in our lives as opportunities, even though they stink, to put it in the Bronx. That's my Bronxese. You're going to hear it from time to time. It comes up. I apologize in advance. But in this life, these challenges that come our way, these opportunities can teach us so much. And I am on the learning curve all the time. But one thing I do know as a metaphysician is that we always attract exactly what we need, exactly when we need it, whatever it happens to be. And sometimes it's not what we want. Sometimes we say, how the heck did I attract this? Right? You know, fender benders, you know, from something as simple as that to something that's very profound in our lives. But one of the things is that we believe is that God doesn't do that stuff to us. God doesn't like, all right, you're going to have a fender bender today and zap you with it. We don't believe that. We believe God allows these things so that we can learn from them or not, grow from them or not. So it's an opportunity from God for growth. It's an allowance. That's one of the greatest gifts that God has given us is to allow us to make choices. We get to decide what we want to do, how we want to think, who we want to be around, who's the best person in our life and who isn't. We get to make all of those choices because God allows, meaning God does not interfere with those choices. We have free will. And we are offered solutions. And the solutions are always offered in grace, in God's grace. And you know, that term gets thrown around a lot. It sounds very religious, doesn't it? God's grace. What the heck does that mean? For a lot of us, what is God's grace? There are ways of describing this, but I'm going to get a little bit woo-woo on you and technical and tell you that God's grace is a space of creativity. Now, what does that mean? It is supernatural. It is not anything we can understand in this particular basic world. It is a space, a blank space of creativity. Quantum physics describes it, you know, and it's an interesting description. I call it God's grace. Quantum physics says it's the space between the elements of an atom. You know, those, you see those models, if you're scientists, I apologize again, when you see those models of all those little things floating around inside the atom, where there is nothing floating is the creative space. That's what created the floaters. That's God. That's God's grace, that creative space that we are given to create for ourselves a life in God's grace, in that space. Isn't that great? That space metaphysicians like to call substance. You might have heard that word, substance. When I was teaching advanced metaphysical students, I was using the term substance. It's just God, period, in a place in the universe that allows creativity, ultimate creativity. So with that tremendous gift means we can start over whenever we feel like it. Whenever we see it, whenever a spiritual turning point hits us, we can start over. That is so wonderful. That is wonderful. This is the space where all things are created, changed, altered, introduced. Everything that you can imagine that goes into putting something together, whether it's on the physical plane or the spiritual plane, it's all the same elements. It all works together. When these turning points hit us, some of us react in one of two ways. And you have heard this cliche, fight or flight, right? We either decide we're going to control every darn aspect of everything that's happened in this situation. We're going to make it right. We're going to fix it. We're going to change it. We're going to, we're going to attack. And then there are those of us who say, I'm done with this. I'm out of here. Ciao, as we say in Italian. See ya. I'm not doing anything. I'm ignoring it. I'm sticking my head in the sand because I can't handle it. But I'm telling you, you can handle it. We tend to go toward either one of those spaces because it's familiar. It's familiar. Why wouldn't we go there? Why wouldn't we? It's something we're used to. We're used to doing day in and day out. Fight or flight. But when you think about it, isn't it wonderful? Isn't it terrific that we can respond at all? That we have the opportunity to change things at all? But I'm here to tell you, it's also wonderful to not do anything. What does she mean by that? Well, in that creative space where God allows you to make your choices and then supports your choices, whatever they are, in that space, there is stillness. And you've heard that. It's still. And in the stillness, nothing is happening. Nothing. Except you are in God's space, God's grace. You feel it when you're in meditation. You feel it when you are doing something meditative, whatever your hobby can be, when you feel like you're in the zone, you're feeling that space right there. That's creative. And we do nothing to alter that space, except we just sit in it. I'm reading a book by Thomas More, and you've heard of him. He is quite famous. And he has said, when something like that hits you, just sit in it. When a challenge hits you, just sit in it. And it doesn't mean, feel bad about it. It means don't feel the need to do anything. Just allow. This is my message to you today, because it is something that I am doing each and every single day of my life. It allows us to bask in the peace of God and wait for the guidance. If you're trying to think of what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? What can I say? What can I do? Where can I go? You are clouding that field with a lot of doubt and anxiety. But if you wait, the messages, the instruction, the guidance will come to you. You'll get a feeling, you'll get a sense of knowing what you need to do and what is right to do. You can't hear that. You can't be in that state of grace unless you calm down and allow and do nothing until you are guided. The highest, greatest voice within you, which is God, we will tell you, will help you. If you ask, you will receive. Recently, I have had a great opportunity. Well, didn't feel like an opportunity when it hit me. I was on sabbatical because I had breast cancer. And it was quite a shock. Some of you know, others don't. And I'm now a breast cancer survivor. And it is an astounding, thank you very much. To say those words still sounds like I'm speaking another language. It just doesn't. Is that me? Was that me? I'm pretty healthy, or at least I thought I was, right? And then all of a sudden this hits, and I first didn't see it as an opportunity. How can you see that as an opportunity? Really, if you're a human being and somebody says, hey, guess what, honey? You have cancer. What? I have what? I have what? All right, now what? Now what? So I didn't see it as a wonderful opportunity the first time I heard those words, but I thought about it, as I am prone to do, overthinking everything. And then I realized that is one heck of an opportunity. Why else would it happen? I needed a kick. I needed a shove. God's telling me, wake up, kiddo. Come on. You're better than this. You're better than this. And I remember having a conversation with Pat, and I said to her, this isn't taking me out. It's not taking me out. I got stuff to do. And we laughed, but it's the truth. It was a little kick in the head. And I thought, let's see this as an opportunity. So when there is some kind of extreme negativity in your life, and I hate to even call it negativity, it's another bump in the road, but you know what I'm saying. When things are not going the way you think they should go, when things surprise you in life and not in a happy way, when you are stunned by something that has happened to you that you cannot believe has happened to you, that is a sacred sign, and that is a shameless plug from my book, Sacred Signs, that change is necessary. Change is necessary. If you're in a job you can't stand and it is killing you every day to go to the job, or if you're in a relationship that is eating away at your heart and soul, that's a message. That's an opportunity for change. Change is necessary. The more extreme the negativity, the more it's necessary for change. So what you gonna do, what you gonna do, what you gonna do? So that hit me. I said, okay. Now, I felt like I had to make changes, not just on the physical level, but also on the emotional and spiritual levels as well. Because when something traumatic hits your life, if you lose someone you love, if something leaves your life that was important to you, any sort of a trauma, it's all the same to God. And God's there to support us. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to make some changes. I'm going to have to make physical, emotional, and spiritual changes. I had never in my life ever had surgery. I never, ever, ever had a baby. I never, ever, ever had anything worse than a tooth pulled. And I had to face somebody cutting away, you know where. I was like, you're going to do what to what? Really, that's what I said. It's a good thing I had a surgeon with a good sense of humor. Holy moly. Scary as heck. Very, very scary. We have been in these situations, maybe not in that one in particular, but there have been scary situations that are tantamount to the situation I'm talking about. It's not always just a physical scare. It's an emotional scare too. It can be something that scares the heck out of you. And that's where I was. And I knew change was necessary. So I said, what am I going to do? I'm starting over. I'm starting over. I'm going to recreate my life. Wow. Sounds like a daunting task, doesn't it? It's not. I'm here to tell you, it's not. In fact, it's fun. It's glorious. It's welcome. So turns out a friend of mine, also a breast cancer survivor, told me on the day of her last radiation treatment, which is kind of cool because I've been there, and they get you to ring a bell. You ring a bell after your last treatment. Ding, ding, ding. It's very cool. You know, they photograph you, the whole thing. Well, she said on the last day of her radiation treatment, one of the nurses told her, "This is your new birthday. Happy birthday." And this friend of mine took me out and got me a piece of birthday cake on the day of my last radiation treatment. And I said, wow, it is my new birthday. You know, April the 27th, 2022 is my birthday, not July 13th, the one that I was born with, this one. And I said, oh man, okay, we're moving forward. We're moving forward. And I said, I have to just see, what am I going to do without trying to force the issues, without trying to change my life from top to bottom, without moving, without whatever, you know, nothing major. I thought, how do I make this shift? How do I do it? How do I do it? And then I was just quiet for a while. And it came to me. The quiet piece of creativity in God's grace came to me. And on a silent level, it said, do nothing. Do nothing. And wait. And be patient. You know, I had always believed that God's grace was a personal place, but it is the realm of all possibility. Anything can happen. You know, with God, all things are possible. You heard that. This is the realm of all possibility, God's grace. Grace is peace. It's peace. It's not worrying about what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? Who's going to be there? Who isn't going to be there? How am I going to get through the next day? It is peace. It is staying calm and peaceful and waiting patiently and putting every single thing in God's hands. Everything. And I'm not kidding. Everything. And it's not about so much letting go of everything. It's about saying, hey, it's up to you now, God. It's your thing. Thy will be done. And you give it to God. You just say, I'm not fretting over this anymore. I am not worrying. I'm just going to wait until things start to happen. And guess what? I got an email from Alan, and he said, when are you ready to come back? Thank you, Alan. And I said, thank you, God. I'm sitting in the space. And I did nothing. And that wonderful invitation came back to me. And I have been doing that with everything. I'm waiting, but not taking inaction. But when something comes my way, I take action on it. When you get the sign, when you get a lead, as we say, you act on it. You don't just sit there and say, oh, that was nice, and wait for something wonderful to fall in your lap. When it does fall in your lap, you grab it. You grab it. That's when you do something. But you don't force anything. You wait, it comes, you grab, you go. And you create something new. You create something new in your life. And you tell God, like I did, I will allow you to run my life. You're going to tell me what to do from now on. I'm not going to try to force this thing anymore, because I accept that you are going to support me no matter what. No matter what. No matter what. I was terrified of surgery, and I'm talking terrified. And I fretted and fretted and fretted and fretted and fretted over it and cried over it and stayed up nights. I was terrified. It was one of these fears I never even knew I had. I was terrified, right? So the night before surgery, I was praying like crazy, saying, God, please take this terror from me. I can't take it. I don't want to deal. I have to go tomorrow. So I jump in the shower. And I'm a wreck because it's the night before, and I'm sobbing, I'm crying, I'm in the shower. I was crying more water than was coming out of the tap. You know what I mean? It was one of those nights. So I'm in there and I'm just doing, whatever. You have to use a special soap, all this stuff. I won't go into details. And then I just got out of the shower, threw on a robe, and all of a sudden, I had no fear. I don't know how it happened. It was this spiritual epiphany. It just, I had no more fear. I drove there for the surgery the next morning. I was joking around with everybody. I went in, no perspiration, as we used to say as kids. No fear at all. Something happened. Something supernatural happened. And that happened in God's grace. And I told the chaplain that I had been speaking with there, you never guess what happened to me. And she said, oh my goodness, prayers were answered. And in the craziest way, right? You go in the shower, you're crying, you step out of the shower, you're cool. You're pretty cool. Amazing. Because the truth is that your belief is so strong. That is your truth. And my truth was, God's going to get me through this no matter how much my human self is scared. That's my truth. And my truth was realized. My truth was realized. And your truth is always realized because truth is sacred. It's not something we throw around like, oh yeah, I believe that. It's sacred. That's your belief. That's how you move and be in God's grace. And it comes through for you. So I decided I'm allowing God to take over my life. And if it works, man, I'm going to use it. I'm going to do it in everything. If it works this time, it's going to work for everything. Because I'm going to be in God's grace for the rest of my life. I'm going to create in God's grace for the rest of my life. And I did. And so what did I do? I started moving on my gut. I let my gut tell me. Because I believe that's the voice of God within us too. One of God's voices tells me, this doesn't feel right. It feels good. Go for it. It doesn't feel good. Don't do it. I started to listen more to my gut. I watched for the signs to appear, to tell me what I needed to do next. I watched for the signs, which I have always done. I looked forward to tomorrow. I did not look back to the past. I did not go over those excruciating months of what I had been through. I did not look back on it for a minute. I moved forward, starting my life over in joy and peace in God's space. I intend to see life this way every single day for the rest of my life. And it's a huge revelation to me. And it will be to you when you make that commitment. It's an exciting adventure, but you have to commit to doing nothing and waiting. And when you are told and you receive what feels good, you act on it. If it doesn't feel good, you don't act on it. And you begin to live your life in this space where you float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Remember him? Bless his soul. That is what we do. That is what we do when we're spiritual. We float. And then we sting when we know where we got to go. We do what we have to do, and we do it happily and joyfully in this exciting adventure. Allow. That is the biggest message I want to give you today. Sit in that space that is God's grace and allow it. Wait for it, because it's a coming. It's coming. And you will then look forward to a future of joy and peace and answers. We need answers, we need them as human beings. And you will get them in that space of joy and peace in God's grace. That's what it's about. I have an affirmation for you, and I'm going to read it to you. This is one that I say, and I'll share it with you. I allow myself to start over from this spiritual turning point and seek the peace, joy, and love of God's grace for my new life. I need do nothing but place my trust, truth, and future into this space of endless and new possibilities to create a new and fulfilling life. And so it is. Amen. Amen. Because it will be so, and so it is. And I'm an example standing here right in front of you, creating my new life as we speak. And it's cool. It's cool. It's cool to see all of your faces today, to hear all of your welcoming wishes. It was, I cannot tell you how wonderful for me. I was walking into heaven when these doors opened. So when those unwanted opportunities come your way for the rest of your life, choose to be in God's grace, in God's space. Allow your good to find you. You don't have to seek it. It will find you. When you have that intention, it will come to you. And you need to do nothing more than enjoy the new ride. Thank you, everybody. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Magnificent. Oh, when we walk away today, we remember to allow, we remember this profound message, just to sit in the space and allow, and then wait and grab and go from you. Thank you for your gift today. Thank you. Right now, we have received such a profound, amazing message. Another thing that I feel was just for me. Did you feel it that way for you? Yes. Nods all over the place. Yes. And so we are grateful. We are truly, truly grateful. And from this place of gratitude, this is our opportunity to support our unity community, your church home. So I like to give my gift. Hold it to your heart, your gifts, all the gifts that you give, and join with me in saying the prosperity blessing. Joyously, I give this gift, knowing that the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.